Hello and welcome to Set Yourself Up for the Year with Melanie from naturalconsulting.com.au. The series we're in at the moment is the time management series, and today in particular what we want to have a look at is delegation. Now, some of you may not have people to delegate to, some of you may have staff. That's fine, you're both covered off in this section. So let's take a quick couple of minutes and have a look at delegation in terms of managing time. The whole principle of delegation is that you don't have to do everything completely on your own. I know it's tempting to do that. Sometimes you feel that you're the only one who can do it properly. So part of the problem with delegation is not in not having someone to delegate to, but in actually letting yourself let go of things to entrust to other people to actually do it, and being okay if they meet 80% of your standards, because sometimes our standards are much higher than other people's. So long as the job gets done and the standard is acceptable, we may not have to consider that the level we want them to do it at is not acceptable. So it depends on the situation. Obviously, sometimes if you've got a brain surgeon that you're training, you want to delegate to, you want them to be 110% right. But if you're doing a process and they've missed a little something that's not consequential, that may be okay. That's all part of the learning process. So in terms of delegating, there's 4 things I want to run through. One is sometimes you just have to train other people up. Now, it's a challenge because when you train people up, you might lose them, or they might then feel that they can do more than what they're really capable of doing. There's some issues around being able to train people. But if you train people properly, even if it's just doing a part of the job that you want them to do, so at least it relieves you of some of that responsibility, particularly the stuff that for you is routine, but for someone else might be an interesting enhancement to their role, then that's allowing you to free up some time to focus on things that are more important. So it takes time to train people, and it's that old story of, well, by the time I train them, I could have done the job. Yes, on this occasion, but if you train them, then on an ongoing basis, you won't have to spend as much time. So think of it as a big investment now for a bigger return down the track. So training people around you is one thing in terms of how to do the job. Also, train people how to respond to you. So if people are used to upward delegation to you and say, oh, look, can you fix this? Can you do this? What do I do here? What do I do now? Then if you keep responding to those requests, then you're going to always be the one that people come to for issues and concerns. Now, that might feed your ego and make you feel really important, but it also, I'm sure, frustrates you because you constantly get interrupted. From a time management point of view, you just are out of control. So far better to focus on what you do particularly well and let other people do some other stuff and not have to refer to you all the time. Give them the trust, give them the boundaries, let them work it up, and then once you're comfortable that they can handle the opportunity, then again, let them do it. Developing is not necessarily training someone to do a role. It's about giving people an opportunity to spread their wings and expand their skills. Particularly useful for someone who you see as a potential um, supervisor or a potential specialist or someone who's got potential to move further. Then you can perhaps bring them under your wing, give them some exposure to certain things that you're doing, which will help their development overall. Not that you're necessarily training them up to take on the task, but it gives you an opportunity to train them up to develop their skills and abilities, even just to develop their thinking processes. So you could develop someone and say, look, here's a problem. I've not got the time to deal with this. However, what I'd like you to do is for you to go away and research it, come up with 2 or 3 solutions that we could look at, and then let's discuss it. That gets the problem off your plate for a while, gives that person the opportunity to expand their capabilities, and then when they come back to you, you can mentor them in terms of the research that they've done, the opportunities that they've presented in terms of solutions, and then you can help them to go through the process of the selection of that best alternative or one that perhaps they hadn't thought of. So developing people again takes some time, but it does still free you up. So you've got to look at reward and risk involved in these opportunities. Outsourcing. Now, I'm talking more to people who are working on their own or working in their own business. Um, one of the joys of being in your own business is you get to be everything and do everything. You don't have to. Um, when you do work for yourself, you tend to feel your fingers are in all the pies, But at some point, for your business to grow, you've got to get your hands out of the pies, keep the eye on the pies, but step away and do other things that are more productive. So, much better for you to be doing things that will generate income, for instance, than for you to be sitting there and doing your processing of your receipts. So outsourcing activities are very much about having systems and processes in place so that people know the methodology they have to follow and the outcome that you're looking for, and then trusting that they can do the job once you've given them the parameters, then checking it when they've come back to make sure that it's met your requirements. So obviously things like bookkeeping are easy things to do in terms of somebody else can handle it probably much better than you unless you happen to be an accountant. Also, a lot of technical, webby kind of stuff. I tend to use some people from overseas to do some activities on the back end of my websites in terms of fixing databases or adding some code into the back end of some websites, things like that. So have a think about the things that you're not so good at or that are cheaper for you to get someone else to do, but you do need to invest the time in working out what specifically do you want them to do, how specifically do you want them to do it, set up processes, systems, and if you can do little snapshot videos of what you want, makes it much easier. So outsourcing is a good way of you, again, freeing up your time over the long term. Again, take some effort up front to make sure the parameters and the systems are in place, but then you're on your own, getting onto things more important than what these activities are. The final thing I just wanted to check in was, when you've got jobs on that you have to do, is it really your role to do it? So check in sometimes and say, why am I doing this? Is this really what my responsibility is about? Or is this really a position or an activity that I've taken on from another position I've had? Or is it an activity that some people are moving in my direction and it's really not appropriate? Or are there things that I'm getting involved in, particularly if you're running your own business, that are really just extraneous to what I'm doing? When you're in your own business, it's really difficult, but you've got to keep your eye on the prize and just focus on what you're really wanting to do. It's very easy to get distracted. Best way to not get distracted is to just check in and say, what am I focused on here? So delegate more. Give things to other people. It helps them, it helps you, but yes, there's an effort in the early part of that. So long as you set up the structure to do that delegation, whether it's training someone to do the task over time, developing someone's capabilities to handle some issues that you don't have to deal with right now, outsourcing some tasks that are low value for you but will be worthwhile you paying someone else to do, and then checking in with, are you really doing your role or are you doing some other kind of function? So I think those are some good points around delegation. Have a think about it. Check in with how much you're delegating at the moment or outsourcing, and just check in and see, is there more of that that I can do to free myself up down the track, particularly if I want to get a better year this year. That's been another session in Set Yourself Up for the Year. This is Melanie Wass from naturalconsulting.com.au. I'll see you next time. Bye.